Welcome back to the main stage and the Motorfest Walk of Fame. It's the place to be if you really want to become a Motorfest legend. Each month is a chance for your name to be marked onto the stars. Here's the Motorfest legend of last month. This month, a new legend rises to the challenge.
What's up, guys and girls? We're here at the Red Bull Playground of Maui, scene of the Red Bull Intense playlist. And if you've played it, you know what I mean. Okay, we're very far from finished. Things aren't so bad in Hawaii after all. So why leave now? Red Bull has invited you to an adrenaline-filled Red Bull main stage season. Motorfest promises 4 weeks of competitions and emotions, AGP, racing, rallycross and more. You're entering the crazy multidisciplinary world of Red Bull. It's just beginning and I'm so excited.
Playlist cleared and ready for takeoff, driver. Face each other proudly in the Maui sun, symbolizing the intense speed clash that awaits you. What do you think? This was generated by a cousin of mine. I'm not great with poetry, but talking to you about playlists, now that I can do. Motorfest takes on the colors of Red Bull, the most energetic brand in motorsport. Investing in iconic racing disciplines for decades, teaming up with most successful manufacturers. But they also sponsor more than 500 extraordinary athletes who represent the brand in their respective sports. We can't introduce them all to you, but our playlist host, Becky Evans, went to meet some of them in her show, Motorfest, the podcast. They're all specialists in the various motorsports you're about to enjoy. Meet us at our brand new playground at the summit of Maui. A world of molten lava and burning rubber. This one comes from my software. I couldn't help myself. Becky's on.
Hi boys and girls, Becky Evans here. I'm joining Motorfest for this new playlist, and I didn't come alone. Red Bull sets up at the summit of Maui on a playground dedicated to every possible racing discipline. We love it. In this playlist, you get to become a pro at every discipline and find out which discipline is the best. Can a motocross bike beat a rally car? Can an AGP beat an aeroplane? It's up to you to take on the craziest challenges and answer the questions that everyone's asking. And I won't be the only one hosting this playlist. Motorsport stars will join us and give you all of their tips and stories. It's shaping up nicely. Let's go. Let's begin the Red Bull experience.
The clash of disciplines starts now. To get the full experience, check out Sounds of Red Bull, the new track list in the music player. Let's see what's coming up.
I would say I use like a jet, like this, you can see the fire from the exhaust, like full time. We risk our life, but it is what it is, and hopefully you get a good machine. So I want to have like proper missile and how do you say, the minigun.
Yeah, the one with the Tommy gun with the...
Yeah, that one, yeah. And oil leak weapon,
yeah,
something like that.
Perfect, Mad Max style, love it. What's happening, guys? My name is Becky Evans and welcome to Motorfest, the podcast, brought to you by Red Bull and Ubisoft's iconic game, The Crew Motorfest. This is the podcast where I get to chat with some of the world's leading motorsport athletes and delve into their passions for all things speed, wings and wheels. And the really cool thing is, you can actually listen into this.
We start this Red Bull playlist with a rallycross race. Let's see how the Ford Puma Hybrid will fare against other rally monsters, like the Audi Quattro, the Citroën C3 or the Focus RS. But before that, we take a look at Motorfest, the podcast.
Whilst you're playing the game. Today's guest was born with some serious athlete instincts. I'd be very surprised if you hadn't seen or heard of him. His name is Yuki Tsunoda, and what he's most famous for is his electrifying talent on the F1 grid. He's been racing for about 20 years. Well, that's if you also include his career as a kid go-karter, growing up in Sagamihara, about an hour away from Tokyo. He lives in Italy currently, but he's joining me today here in Milton Keynes. Yuki, thanks so much for being here and welcome to the show. How are you?
Amazing. Just in the UK. Just flew back from Brazil. Just had a bit of 2 weeks gap, so excited for a bit of rest now.
So let's jump straight into it, Yuki. You've been described as a person who likes something when you walk into it, as someone who knows exactly what you want, and you're unashamed and unafraid to express it. And in terms of your identity as a driver, you're known for quite a modern driving style. Could you break down what you feel your driving style is for us watching you on the screen?
My driving style, mainly, I have good confidence with the braking, so I'm good at attacking the braking, so you can use that also in the 1 lap qualifying lap, hot lap, and also to overtake someone. I think this is coming from the karting skills when I was very, very young, I was 13, 20, and 12 years old or whatever. My dad used to teach me a lot about braking, and that kind of base or DNA still inside my driving skill, and definitely I like to attack braking. Recently, last Grand Prix was a bit too much sometimes, and unfortunately a couple of times went to the wall. But still have good confidence, and feels great when you feel the G-force, with the maximum longitudinal G-force when you have nailed the great braking.
How do you feel that you have evolved as a driver over these years, obviously starting in go-karting and then to present day?
Yeah, I mean,
welcome to Motorfest, the podcast. Here I get real with Red Bull athletes to tell us about the intensity of motorsports and the love they feel for it. And let's talk about Rallycross, which is the theme of the first playlist event. For the occasion, I asked two of the most exciting Rallycross names about their ideal car. Here are the Hanson brothers. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Timmy, if you were to describe your ultimate dream machine, what would it be?
Something like, what they have in Pikes Peak, a lot of power, a lot of suspension travel, being able to jump really far.
Kevin, over to you.
Like really long suspension travel, so you can jump like crazy. Rebel livery, red.
Yep, okay, makes sense. The car you're about to drive meets a lot of Kevin and Timmy's criteria. I hope you guys will love it. Oh, and to listen to the full podcast, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. Just go to the Sounds of Red Bull tracklist of your music player. Enjoy the race. Welcome to the Red Bull Playground, boys and girls. Becky Evans here, improvising as the voice of the playlist. Ray Waller, the official voice of the festival, is bedridden. But don't worry, he'll be back soon. I'll be commentating on what you see. And don't blink, because things are going to happen fast. Entering a tunnel for the first time. Now they have to adapt their driving to the tarmac. It's a cross-terrain race, just like this playlist, mixing all the disciplines of racing. Ladies and gentlemen, I've always wanted to say that. In my last podcast, Timmy Hanson explained how essential it is to gather enough speed, keep the nose up, and land flat for a successful jump. Woohoo! Looks like this one. Listen to the podcast. On the grid today, I see the Audi S1 EKS RX Quattro, the 2016 World Champion, has started in first position. But the big surprise, undoubtedly the Ford Puma Hybrid Rally 1, the brand's first electrified rally car. Boys and girls.
way to prepare for our first speed clash.
The podcast continues. As a driver of these years, obviously starting in go-karting.
It's time for a first clash of disciplines. 2 disciplines, 2 paths. Choose your discipline and prove that it can set the fastest time.
And then to present day.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. I mean, when I was karting, a lot of emotional things that probably, as a human, I was growing significantly, fast, and especially those times. And at some point, I even didn't like much motorsports. I got distracted by other sports. I'm a person like, I want to try a lot of sports. I'm very active. So I tried like downhill, mountain biking, swimming, a lot of kind of stuff, skateboarding, for example. And but yeah, I knew somewhere in my mind that motorsport is the things that probably I'm very good at. And I started 4 years old.
Becky, your turn.
And there's always strong passion inside my heart. So yeah, it started. It's kind of went through those moments and evolved throughout the years. And especially compared to first day Formula One, which was 2021, and compared now, it's a lot different. Even at 4 years, this kind of environment makes my mindset as very strong as a human. Not just inside of racing, also outside of racing. Yeah, I feel just in general place I feel grown. Yeah.
That explains so much. When I watched you on that Red Bull series where it was you trying different sports, you absolutely shone because it was just like getting to do other things and you were so happy and excited. Yeah,
serious race series, I think that goes, I know you try to race with the vehicle that you don't normally race with, and adaptation to that is quite key, and probably because I was doing a lot of sports, you get used to it with adapting to some sports immediately. So yeah, probably that's why.
All right, boys and girls, I'm super excited because we get to see the first clash of motorsports. We're staying in the dirt, and you know the first opponent because we already saw it in action, the Puma. But for the second, you'll have to listen to my last interview.
Hi, I'm Robbie Madison. I'm a freestyle motocross rider. I've done a lot of cool stunts.
As a champion athlete and stunt performer, what does flirting with the limit mean for you?
To me, flirting with the limit is like being in the moment. When you're able to flirt with the limit, you're operating at the full maximum potential that you're able to operate. It's the pinnacle, right? That's peak performance.
And you guys, are you ready to flirt with the limits? Ford Puma. Now you know better than anyone what this machine is capable of.
You're witnessing a real speed clash. The first one to the finish is the winner. Right now, the bike and the car are on the same course. But, to keep things fair, they'll diverge onto separate routes, designed to let each vehicle work to its full potential. The course is about to split. Straight ahead for the car, right for the motorcycle. The KTM definitely has the advantage of airtime. She's much better at jumping. But the Puma can deal with asphalt and is more reliable on straights. Both have their strong points. Which one will exploit theirs best? No matter the vehicle, dirt requires reflexes, but above all, instinct. Making the right choices quickly is the key to surviving the race. Rally beats motocross. We've got our answer, boys and girls.
Back to our podcast.
IT, and probably because of us doing a lot of sports, you get used to it with the,
The dirt chapter is finished. We're moving on to asphalt vehicles. We start quietly, and I use big quotation marks, with a little warm-up ride on a racing bike.
some sports immediately. So yeah, probably that's why I'm good at it. And also the moments I feel a lot of adrenaline, like, oh, I have to go flat out. I go flat out from the straight away from the, once I hold the steering and see how it goes. And those kind of moments are really exciting.
Yuki, I feel like you'd make a great drift driver. From everything you've just said there, I think you'd be very good at it. I can't wait for the day to see you in a drift car.
Hey, I love drifting. Yes, when I was in karting, in rain condition, for example, like you can drift around, right? Like especially, corner entry, it's actually sometimes good to drift a little bit to rotate the car and to drive fast in the corner. But current Formula One, like, it's hard to drift, you can drift, but not the drift that probably every people thinking about, it's not like talking drift, you can't just drift all the way through a corner. Sometimes actually drifting is good training for us because of, there's a lot of sliding, while in the hot lap. But because of we got used to it too much with the grip, that trying to not slide too much, sometimes you can't really react as much as you used to be. So actually drifting training is some drivers does it, and actually some point even like when I went back to Japan, I do some time on the snow doing something drifting and just have fun.
This is a question I'm asking all of my guests in all seriousness. If you could be a car, a plane, a boat or a motorbike, which would you be and why?
Oh, good question. I'm thinking either plane or motorbike. I think a plane is quite good because you can fly around, but probably it'll be boring. You see just same view all the time, so above the clouds. So I'll choose motorbike.
Yeah, we're like trying to match people's personalities with which vehicle they take. I love the fact that you chose the plane and you're like, kind of boring.
Yeah.
Just floating about up there. We'll take the motorbike.
I'm actually quite easy to get boring with any sports. But that's why like I got distracted with a lot of sports. That's probably one of the reasons that I.
Back to the podcast studio. Listen to this, folks. What you're hearing is the sound of the KTM RC16 2022 version, and that's my guess for today. 4 cylinders, 1,000 cubic centimeters, 250 horsepower for just 346 pounds. Take a look at this dynamic marvel and get ready to drive in the time attack. Don't forget, when you're driving along the coast of Maui or the streets of Honolulu, you can listen to all the podcast episodes on the Sounds of Red Bull track list. Now, time to unleash the moto racing power.
Attention boys and girls, this event can seem simple, but it's crucial for our driver. A time attack to test whether the driver can handle the next clash of disciplines. Playground landmark, and no lie, it's definitely not safe. The RC16 is a little marvel. We had to wait until 2017 to see the RB KTM factory join the competition. The brand has won everything in other competitions, so it was time to see them take on moto racing. Or roll the dice with something unknown. It's an agonizing decision.
All right, let's keep talking.
That's probably one of the reasons that I...
Clash of disciplines in sight. When a racing bike meets a racing car, it's a real battle for the asphalt.
Yeah, I got distracted, but yeah, it's just easy to get bored.
That's my favourite tagline from this podcast. Yuki Tsunoda, great driver, easily distracted.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, you've been driving for a very long time. Your father was a mechanic and a former car racer himself. How has his influence been pivotal on your career?
Yeah, definitely my dad. Yeah, influenced my career a lot of parts, and like I said previously, that for example driving, part of my driving skill that I have a lot of confidence in the braking. Definitely my dad gave a lot of tips about braking, and he's the one who always saying like, when you start, first thing you enter to the corner, the first thing you do is braking, right? Maybe some corners doesn't do it, but that brake, how you brake will affect your car movements afterwards. So braking is actually really important part of the corner. And yeah, like he loved to do something mechanics, like touching some cars, karting and set up the cars, and also probably he used to do a bit of motorsports as well. So he enjoyed, doing a lot of doing motorsports with me. And yeah, I think he was always part of my career until especially like 14 years old. He was very strict, started 4 years old, like we started casually, and once I actually started to win, probably he saw this.
For the next one, we'll put two disciplines in a head-to-head race and see which one crosses the line first. Racing car or racing bike? Which one is the best? Will it be the beautiful Ferrari 488 in its circuit version, or the KTM RC16 that we all know has great skills? I'm leaning towards the bike. It's lighter and its top speed flirts with 224 miles per hour. It's the logical choice. But aren't we here to defy the laws of logic? Racing car addicts, it's up to you to prove otherwise. Ferrari meets Red Bull.
No individual courses today. It's a pure face-off on a circuit designed for both vehicles. So I don't want to hear any sore losers complaining. May the best win. This evening, the KTM RC16 takes on the Ferrari 488 GT3. 600 horsepower for 2,777 pounds for the Italian machine, while the Australian Stallion boasts only 270 horsepower, but for 346 pounds, not insignificant. The car and the bike can both turn well at speed, but it's the exit of the turn and the entry into the next one that will be decisive. Of the course isn't a track. It's been specially resurfaced to provide a little extra speed. Regardless of who wins, this clash has a lot to live up to. The Ferrari, standard bearer of racing cars, has just put an end to the discussion.
The podcast is back on. Our guest still has plenty of things to say.
Really, and once I actually started to win, of course he saw this my bit of
Radio Flash. Hear all the insights on the world of racing on Sounds of Red Bull, the official channel of motorsport.
talent to myself, and maybe he thought probably we thought that maybe we can be professional driver at some point, but to step up like that way, we need to be more serious to the motorsport.
Hey boys and girls, I hope you can keep up because we're about to go hard with the elite of motorsports, the AGP. Cars that can easily go up to 220 miles per hour. And because we always want more in this playlist, we add boost gauges. It's going to be strategic. And as always, I did my homework and talked all things racing with a pro driver. You might know him, Yuki Tsunoda.
Could you break down what you feel your driving style is for us watching you on the screen?
My dad used to teach me a lot about braking. Definitely, I like to adapt braking. Recently, last two Grand Prix was a bit too much sometimes, and yeah, unfortunately, a couple of times went to the wall. Feels great when you feel the G-force, with the maximum longitudinal G-force when you have nailed the great braking.
And beside braking hard, be focused at the start. It's decisive for the rest of the race.
Drivers are focused. The start is imminent. Let's go! A full AGP race. Using boosts in the right place at the right time will be decisive. Second lap. It's raining. It's going to be a completely different race from now on. AGP Museum is on this circuit. 4 generations, RB13, 14, 18 and 20. 7 years of evolution from Renault to Honda engines. Between them, these four account for more than 70 podiums. Ultimate lap. Drivers, if you've got any extra nitro, now's the time to use it. Superb victory. Proof that RB AGP just keeps getting better and better. Let's get back to Motorfest, the podcast.
That way,
You've just discovered the RB20. You can keep it for what follows, but you can also opt for a vehicle that's a little less earthbound. The choice is yours.
serious and strict, and that's why one of the reasons that I sometimes didn't like motorsports, because he was always the person like angry, mad at me, like when I have bad race, he's the one who very mad at me and didn't really enjoy it. But without those things and without his teach or taught, like the lessons, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, I very appreciate him.
I think it makes a better driver, genuinely. I did go-karting when I was 7 years old, and my dad was always like, "It's okay, sweetie." I remember hitting
like that as well.
I remember the cone in the middle of the track, to separate the pack for the transponders. I just drove straight through it, and I came off the track, and my dad was like, "It's okay, sweetheart. we'll go again next time." Clock forwards, I'm not a champion driver, so I can totally appreciate the strictness from dads. It definitely gives you a good level of discipline.
Sometimes actually, I was always watching the drivers or the family.
Back to the podcast, guys. As you've seen, the playground is a motorsport paradise, but there's still a place that we haven't experienced so far. The sky. I was lucky enough to feature Luke Chapella, Red Bull Air Race pilot, famous for being the first to land a plane on the very tiny helipad 600 feet in the air.
I'd love to know more about the bullseye stunt. There's an attempt, and then the plane bounces and you keep going, and I had a heart attack and was like, oh my God.
I almost got a heart attack on the first one as well. It took me 650 practice landings before I went for the actual landing on the helipad. So for an athlete to come out from what I thought was a failure, but that was quite challenging.
So cool. The video is online. You have to check it out. The next race is the most experimental of the playlist. AGP versus stunt plane. Place your bets. Extra. That's not just my reaction, but also the name of your flying machine.
Unsurprisingly, the AGP has the advantage on startup, but once the plane is airborne, it's a different story. If you're a Red Bull addict, you'll probably know that this isn't the first time an AGP and a plane have been put on the same grid. Last time, it was in a straight line in a drag race. if it wants to keep up with the AGP, which is much more accustomed to doing so. That's really exciting! I'm sure you're familiar with the RB20 on the track today, certainly more so than its aerial rival. Stressed for 10G and capable of reaching 975 meters per minute, its size makes it the perfect aerobatic aircraft. Let's hope our pilot will give us a taste. We enter the second lap. Neither of them wants to give up. This succession of turns is tricky. To pick up speed. I hope they haven't forgotten the turn waiting at the end. Seeing another race like this anytime soon.
The podcast is back on. Our guest still has plenty of things to say.
I was always watching the.
One more clash to close this Red Bull playlist. This one is big.
The drivers or the.
Confronting two disciplines is not enough. So Motorfest and Red Bull are offering you the choice of three. Which is the best? Becky asked our Red Bull athletes what they think.
Family that, parents teaching to their kids very kindly, and I would always compare to my situation with my dad. Dad, I would love to have that kind of bit of kindness, when you teach me something, because sometimes it's a bit too much strict, but probably because of he know my personality. I don't really recognize until I experience something really bad. Then probably he knew about my personality, especially those kind of, I would say, negative side, but one of the bit of weakness of myself to progress the karting, and that's why he was being very aggressive to me.
You were 7 years old when you went to your first F1 race. That must have made a huge impact. Like, what can you remember from that very first F1 race?
First time.
In your honest opinion, between rally, AGP and motor racing, which is the most intense discipline? The one that brings the craziest sensations?
I think it's motor racing, actually.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I think F1, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'd go for Formula One.
Rallycross, moto racing, or AGP? Here comes the ultimate challenge of the playlist, but also the end of the podcast. But I'm never far away. I'm always on the air. You find all the podcasts on the Sounds of Red Bull track list. And then, I don't know why, but I feel like we'll see each other again soon. It's off to the apex of the playlist. AGP, champion of all motorsports? Yeah, it makes sense.
Who will cross the line first in this head-to-head race? Answer in, about a few minutes. The rally car has already changed its course to reach the dirt. Each vehicle has its own special route designed to match its strengths. The AGP stands out for its speed and braking quality, and of course it sticks to asphalt and is unbeatable in corners. So to make things fair, it will be racing the longest route. The bike's route, on the other hand, is shorter but ultra-technical, forcing the rider to swing through the curves without losing speed. Seems to be ahead for the moment, but don't forget that its path is the longest. Everything can still change. Time for the family photo. To the end. We're about to find out who's going to win the ultimate racetrack, the Speed War. one and only.
Time to reap your reward. Your vehicle is ready for you to claim.
The podcast continues.
End of Speed Clash, the first milestone in a promising relationship between Red Bull and Motorfest. I'm sure this is just the beginning. You've discovered a multitude of racing vehicles in this playlist, all of them motorsports gems. But we had to choose just one for the reward. We thought maybe you wouldn't mind having a Red Bull branded Ferrari in your garage. The Ferrari F48H GT3 FA Corse is just for you.
7 years old when you went to your first F1 race. That must have made a huge impact. Like, what can you remember from that very first F1 race?
First time I saw Formula One, yeah, like you said, 7 years old, when I went to Fuji Speedway in Japan, Japanese Grand Prix. I think initial impression from Formula One was just too loud. First of all, the engine sound. And I remember, like, I was always covering the ears. To be honest, obviously, if I hear it now, it's just amazing sound. Like V10, you know, like, it's so cool. But at that point, I was like, get annoyed with that sound. Every time the cars come, you know, pass in front of me, you just have to always cover the ears. And still you can hear through the, you know, the hands. So, yeah, it's like I didn't really have a good impression about Formula One, but at the same time, I got impressed about the environment, you know, how the Formula One race works, and also all the drivers, how the high quality drivers are. And definitely I dream about, or one day I want to be a Formula One driver, but hopefully less sound.
I mean, taking that thought and cut to 2020 and your first experience.
Back to the interview.
To 2020 and your first experience driving an F1 car. It was a test session at Imola circuit. You were driving the Toro Rosso STR13. Can you describe that car and those crazy first sensations when you drove it?
Yeah, I still remember first time I drove Formula One. It was like, first of all, I got impressed about initial longitudinal G-force after I accelerate. Just like the acceleration power I felt was you can't compare with anything, you know, and the vehicle I drove until then, and just it has so much power. And even actually it was first time I drove was rain condition, which is kind of, you know, less grip obviously because rain condition a bit more slippery, so you can't experience fully. It's not like dry condition, so you can't really feel the full power of Formula One, but still,
yeah.
With the rain condition, feel massive power. And also, one thing I got really impressed most was the braking. So even rain condition, normally you press brake half of pressure compared to the dry condition. So there's a bit of step compared to Formula 3 to Formula 2. There's a like change to carbon brake in Formula 2, and I still remember Formula 2 first time brake. I still got surprised, but like 2, 3, 10 times more. Like once the brake, like my neck went immediately forward, and like almost I touched the steering. Luckily not, but like, okay, no, oh damn, this braking is very like have a serious power. You know, most of the time after that, you try to tense your bit neck and brake, and normally you'll be okay. It was like that situation in Formula 2, but every time even that I tense my neck, it's still my neck went forward. You know, like the power of the braking, I got like super surprised about that.
Let's talk about F1. It is the pinnacle of motorsport in the highest class of single-seater racing. It's all about speed, positioning, pushing the machine to the limit. F1 cars generally generate a speed of over 200. to our podcast. Single-seater racing is all about...
We started, and I was like half an hour into the app, like...
right, let's keep talking.
We started, and I was like half.
There's been time where I was working 12 to 14.
Back to the interview.
There's been time where I was working 12 to 14 hour days, 7 days a week, working 2 or 3 different jobs sometimes, just to pay for another hour of flying and another flying lesson. And
I started with Masters with 620 natural aspirated horsepower.
I think if I was invincible and I could be young forever.
The last time you received a speeding ticket?
1 month ago.
Oh. Honest. Love that.
That is a story too. Esa story I cannot tell. It's a good story. Maybe the next one.
Welcome back to
For their passions for all things speed, wings and wheels. And if you haven't already tried it, you can actually listen in whilst you're playing the game, the Crew Motorfest from Ubisoft. My name's Becky Evans, and in today's episode, we're talking to some serious all-terrain motorcycle adventurers, Argentinian World Rally Champion Luciano Benavides and his champion teammate, Australian Daniel Chucky Sanders. These are absolute warriors on two wheels, most notably the KTM 450 Rally Factory. Not your normal motocross bike, and according to Daniel Sanders, it pops and barks like an angry dog. Guys, this machine is one to look out for and listen out for. It is totally kitted out for dunes, rocks, mud, and the brutal force.
back to our podcast. And listen out for, it is totally kitted out.
We started, and I was like half an hour.
There's been time where I was working 12 to 14-hour days, 7 days a week, working 2 or 3 different jobs sometimes, just to pay for another hour of flying and another flying lesson. And yeah, it's been worth it.
Welcome back to Motorfest, the podcast. My name is Becky Evans, and this is a podcast brought to you by Red Bull and Ubisoft's iconic game, The Crew, Motorfest. Now, in this podcast, this is where I get to talk to motorsport athletes about their passions, all things speed, wings, and wheels. And you know what the really cool thing is? You can actually listen to this podcast whilst you're playing the game. So grab one of your dream vehicles, jump in, strap in, because you're about to hear from the athletes that actually get...
I started Drift Masters with 620.
Podcast is back on. Our guest still has plenty of things to say.
I started Drift Masters with 620 natural aspirated horsepower, and in Riga I was clutch kicking in 5th gear.
Yeah, I remember the same. I was the same as well. Yeah,
like coming around the turn.
What's happening, guys? I'm Becky Evans, and welcome to Motorfest, the podcast, brought to you by Red Bull and the iconic Ubisoft game, The Crew Motorfest. This is a podcast where I get to talk to the top motorsport athletes in the world about their passions of all things speed, wings, and wheels. And if you didn't already know, you can actually listen to this podcast whilst you're playing the game. So sit back, relax, and listen to the athletes that get to drive them in the world. Let's go. Now that isn't the sound of my SR22 there, but it is the noise of the BMW M4 that you get to play in the game. And I've got with me today 2 guests on my podcast that have driven it in real life. So Elias Hutundi and Connor Shanahan, welcome to Motorfest, the podcast.
Thank you.
Now this is a car, the BMW M4, that Ellie, you know extremely well. You've been there since
probably one of our biggest projects that we've done so far as a team. We teamed up with BMW M, and we actually got 2 pre-production cars before they were out on sale, and we transformed them to a 1,000 horsepower drift machine. This is, until this day, it's a dream come true for me.
So I'm going to throw it back here, Ellie, to the first time that I actually met you. I had no idea about drifting. I'd just come off the back of making a TV show with Red Bull, and in 2018 I came to Mondello Park, which is the House of Drift in Ireland, and you were the first person to actually put me in a competition car, allowed me to start it, and then actually pull the sequential lever, which, you know, moving forward to today, I have one of those in my car because I was like, that feels absolutely sick doing that.
You might remember that actually the steering wheel was a little bit off-center, a little bit crooked, and when I was sitting inside...
It is the perfect car. Like we've studied it, people have studied it. It's the perfect length, the wheelbase, the width is great, and the height of it. In general, it is quite low. I think it looks super sporty and cool.
The last time you received a speeding ticket?
1 month ago.
Oh. Honest. Love that.
That is a story too. That's a story I cannot tell. Maybe the next one.
Welcome back to Motorfest, the podcast. This is the show where I get to talk to some of the most daring motorsport athletes for their passions for all things speed, wings and wheels. And if you haven't already tried it, you can actually listen in whilst you're playing the game, the Crew Motorfest from Ubisoft. My name's Becky Evans, and in today's episode, we're talking to some serious all-terrain motorcycle adventurers, Argentinian World Rally Champion Luciano Benavides, and his champion teammate, Australian Daniel Chucky Sanders. These are absolute warriors on two wheels, most notably the KTM 450 Rally Factory. Not your normal motocross bike, and according to Daniel Sanders, it pops and barks like an angry dog. Guys, one to look out for and listen out for. It is totally kitted out for dunes, rocks, mud, and the brutal forces of rough weather and wilderness. That said, it's only as good as the person behind the wheel. And in this episode, Daniel and Luciano discuss everything from their first bike souvenirs to crashes, to trophies, adrenaline, tips on how not to get lost in the desert, death-defying drops, and what it means to really risk everything.